Where's the
I'm not gonna lie. I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence.
There's this like narrative on the independent side of things that's like everybody has to be independent.
Right.
And while that's true for a lot of folks, there's some people that either, you know, like I look at my wife, like she was born for State Farm. But I also look at like there's some people that maybe aren't ready to do their own thing. And, and they'll ask me, hey, what do you think I should do? I say, I think you should go work for that company for a year, get some experience, then have an exit strategy. And I've posted that advice before, and I've had people kind of chastise me about it a little bit, like, no, when people do things, they need to do it all in. I'm like, yeah, but you don't need to drink the Kool-Aid too much.
Yeah,
you need to learn and commit to that job, but at the same time, and I'd say that because I did that. When I was at Alpha the first 4.5 years, I never planned to be anything but an Alpha agent. And this agency would be a lot bigger had I not done that, because all my money and resources and time and energy.
Long, as crazy as it sounds, about listening to my wife. She asked me probably 10 years ago, have you ever thought about selling life insurance? And I'm like, everything I had done before that had been like customer service. So I'm like, sales? I'm like, I can't do sales, you know? And I picked up a sales job working nights, selling cable. Cable, internet, and phone. And I'd never done it before, and so one day I'm sitting here, and she asked me again, I'm like, well, if I can sell this expensive cable, I definitely can do life insurance. And so that's when I started to look into it again. And
have you played around with buy sales at all?
No, I haven't.
So, in my opinion, the easiest, best life insurance sale you can make is a buy-sell agreement. Okay, it's a super easy conversation. The hard part is figuring out who the business owner is, and they have to be a business owner that has a business with a partner. Okay, so it's business with a partner. You got two partners. Okay, get them on the phone or however you get in touch with them. Is, hey, do you guys have a buy-sell agreement? More than likely, they're going to say yes. If they're a reputable business, they have a buy-sell agreement, which says that if one of them dies, the other one buys out, that sort of thing. And then you follow it up with, well, how's it funded? And that question always catches them off guard because they don't know what you're talking about. It's probably not funded right. And then I used to do this. So then I would go into, well, let me explain something to you. Most businesses with partners have buy-sell, so you're doing great. You have a buy-sell, you're doing awesome. But what we found is that 86% of businesses that have buy-sell agreements don't fund them properly, and it effectively accomplishes the opposite of what they're trying to accomplish. So let me ask you a question. Do you want to do business with your partner's spouse? No. Do they want to do business with your spouse? Hell no. Okay. You need a life insurance policy on you, and you need a life insurance policy on you. That way, if she dies or he dies, the business bought this life insurance, the death benefits paid to the business, you buy the partner out, done. No sweat off your back. Literally, if I could get to, when I was selling life insurance, and I don't want to be like the, whatever, like, oh, when I did it, but when I was selling, and I wasn't that big of a producer, but when I got to that point of conversation, the close ratio was 100%. If you have that conversation with them, and here's the deal. I don't know if this matters with your life company, but the company I sold life insurance for, it mattered. They pretty much always paid in full. Because it's a business expense, it's cheap. And so to me, that was my favorite thing to do because it was such an easy, it was a lay down. And you're talking to these business owners, it makes sense to them. You're talking about things that hardly nobody else is talking about. A lot of agents are scared to have that conversation. But if you ever want to do PNC, that's a good leeway to get you into PNC. Hey, will you do me a favor real quick? Say hey to Tyrone. Tyrone's a podcast listener sitting in my office right now.
There it is.
Where's Tyrone from?
Toledo, Ohio.
603 sophomore from Toledo, Ohio. First team.
That's a real deal.
American Rivals, 5-star
Recruit.
Oh.
Time guest on the IGP. Tyrone.
We may have to make that a real
Scott, thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Insurance agents from around the world, welcome to the Insurance Guys podcast. If you hear noise in the background, we are in DOLLYWOOD. That's what I've renamed it, DOLLYWOOD. We are in...
Thought we were calling it Scott World.
We are in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee at the Young Agents of Tennessee conference today.
We're kind of like animals in the zoo right now with people walking around looking at us.
Please put your hands together and welcome Mr. CHAZ GOODIN. How are you, CHAZ? Give these agents one piece of advice. If they're thinking about buying an agency,
I would say just have in your mind, your expectations for your long-term goals versus your short-term.
Don't just buy for the sake of buying.
Right, exactly. So have those goals in mind. It's exciting, to enter into that world and to assume that for the first time. And so the excitement can drive you into making changes too fast or doing that. And just thinking that you're kind of the only person that can make all this happen. We obviously our faith is important to us, so we pray a lot each day about decisions that we're making. We're just really trying to ask God for guidance, and we're not trying to force things to be successful in the eyes of the world. We're just trying to put the agents that we have in our office first, and our employees, and then our clients' interests, and then just serve them, love on them, things like that. And so, but yeah, just focusing on short term too much can get you in a little bit ahead of where the agency is, and just wanting to develop people so much and get the most out of them, not being patient with them, things like that. So just say the more patience you can have in those processes and seeing people's true potential and even what you can do just by having those plans in mind can be a huge asset. So.
Scott Howell reporting live from Extreme Go-Karting, where our plan of attack is to make these kids cry as we dominate them on a go-kart track. What are your thoughts, sir?
We'll see about that.
I like your confidence. And our plan is to whip their ass and go karting in the next 15 minutes. So stand by for that.
I think the DuPont, Agency Zoom, Applied Epic, Now Shirts, Chevrolet did great today.
Same here. I'd like to thank Taco Bell, Mountain Dew, Chevrolet, Napa Auto Parts, Chevrolet for team sponsorship. We all played a big part in it today. Thank you very much.
I'm not gonna lie, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence.
No matter the industry, the A and B players are fine. The C and D players are the ones that really get hurt. And the difference in those two groups are that the A and B players are the ones that adapt, and the C and D players are the ones that try to keep it the way we've always done it.
Next question. Many of these people in the room today, or some of these people, are both producers and CSRs and agencies. How can they make themselves more valuable to their agency? We'll start with Brad.
I think in 2021 and beyond, agency owners need to provide more value to their employees than the money that they're paying them. I also think that employees of agencies need to provide more value above and beyond the money they're being paid and the work they're doing at the agency. How would I interpret you doing that? I think that, and I did it, I was an employee, a W2 employee for 6.5 years at a small captive company. And what I did is I made myself so versed in technology, so versed in marketing, that even when I broke rules, they could not fire me. Listen, similar to the carrier rep question, listen to podcasts, go to conferences,
get all of this knowledge outside of the agency, become a student of the game. That way, you are just so valuable to that agency owner that there's nothing they can do but pay you more and make your experience working there so much better. Does that make sense?
To point out, when you hire people, and I've hired people in and outside of the industry, when you hire people from outside of the industry, they don't have a litmus test to go by of what's considered acceptable production. And a lot of times those people will produce higher than someone that's been in the business 10 to 15 years. We both got to spend some time a couple weeks ago with Mick Hunt. He's got a guy in his training program that's been in the business 4 months. You know the story I'm about to tell?
Yeah, I forgot it. But I
He's
remember
been in the
now.
business 4 months, and he's averaging $400,000 in premium a month and knows no better.
And
He
they don't
thinks
tell
that
him
that's normal, and they don't tell him that that's not normal. And if any of you are going to try to figure out who it is, I'm already 8 steps ahead of you, so don't worry about that.
That's funny.
Well, I mean, the funny thing is, so my top producer's Kyle. He's the co-host of Our Producers podcast with me, and he came from Quill selling office supplies. He had to cold call 50 businesses a day. 50 a day. I only ask my producers to call on 8 to 10. This guy came to work with us and felt like he was on vacation, and he's making more money than he's ever made in his life. And it's because he, like Bradley said, he didn't know any better, and I've not really told him any better.
Bring it home WWE style. Let's talk about marketing. Let's talk about what these people should be doing today, because a lot of people don't know. You know, you got Google AdWords, you got Facebook ads, you got all this stuff out there. Talk to them about how they can bring in business through marketing and branding into their agencies for a minute. You're good at that.
Well, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. I answer things in ways that I've been successful doing. And someone asked me that same question on Instagram yesterday, and I said, I think the best way for someone to generate business the fastest in their agency today, that's going to create I like to generate leads for my agency in ways that if I'm still not doing that thing, it's still generating leads. For example, you're doing Google AdWords, more than likely when you stop pouring money into Google, those leads are going to stop coming in. So I think the best way for everybody in here to generate leads today or tomorrow is to start some sort of podcast, either in their local town, a locally driven podcast where you're interviewing centers of influence in your town, or a podcast in their niche. And literally what you can do is call your top prospects and say, hey, I want to have you on my podcast. They are going to say yes, and you're going to close business. We had a guy a couple weeks ago that closed a $60,000 revenue account that he otherwise would not have done, that we helped him implement this podcast strategy. It works. So I would do that. And the thing is, you can half do it. You don't have to have all this fancy gear and equipment. You can literally just have a cell phone recording on the table and provide as much value to that person as possible. I'm putting you on a pedestal, Mr. Whatever manufacturer CEO, and they're gonna feel like they at least owe it to you to get an next day when you come out of there.
I tell every person when I'm interviewing them, I tell every person when on their first day of work, and I constantly remind the team over and over, the most important thing at Portal Insurance is a solid, safe culture. And that starts with our core values. How many people here have core values for their agency? And don't be scared to, okay, perfect, okay. That's where everything starts. Like literally the first thing that I did after I put together my business plan, really was part of my business plan, was our core values. And our core values are, we care, we take massive action in everything we do, we always play the long game, and we give more value than we take. That's our competitive advantage, is that the people who see our office and see our employees and see our YouTube videos and stuff like that want to work there. And what I'm saying, what all of this is building up to is I wanted an adjective to describe our culture. And I've thought about this for a few years, and I recently came up with it in the last 6 months, is that the best way to describe our culture is safe. I think ultimately that's what employees want to feel, is they want to feel safe. in things like coming up with new ideas. If someone comes to me with a marketing idea or something of that nature, even if I think it's the dumbest thing in the world, I'm not going to tell them that. I'm going to help empower them to pursue that idea. Did you guys get something out of this?